It's Christopher Mader, the Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk and often rock. I'm here in front of the Courthouse here on Main Street. It's freezing cold. I'm going to put my gloves on here once I got the camera going. I'm here with some people. I'm here with Melissa Whitman. I'm here with David Rold. Even Gordon Davis is here. And I'm going to get some footage on this protest for or against forced abduction of children from the Department of Children and Families, or as I like to call them, the Department of Corruption and Fraud. The Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk, and awesome rock.
Spread awareness about forced adoption. They make up lies and commit perjury on stand to adopt out your kids for federal funding. The more kids they take, the more funding they get. Stop forced adoption. Hold these
Girlfriend's stepfather who's trying to
perjury.
help my son get home because he knows how miserable he is.
It's horrible. Well,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Fun request me.
I will.
I'll send
Thank
you
you.
to some pretty good links. Family court reform. Stop forced adoption. DCF stealing our children.
Yep.
They commit perjury and lies. They make up lies about you so they can say it on stand and get your kid adopted away from federal funding. They receive a lot of money when they adopt out kids, especially older kids.
I know you gave me a flyer, but what are some of the numbers that we're talking about here? Talking about anywhere from up to $10,000 per child, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah, $10,000. By any of which. So the more kids they get like $10,000. Kids.
They get money for handicapped children.
Yeah,
Handicapped
older
children.
Kids, they get even more.
That's a petition.
I come back on the 16th of March.
I don't think they got a petition. I don't know.
The judge told them he not labor for 7 million.
It's not a petition, it's signed.
Do you want to take a minute to tell your story?
The number of children adopted in child guardianship in the state during the fiscal year exceeds
The woman that I'm filming doesn't want her identity revealed because what basically happens is if her identity is revealed, then that will be held against her by DCF. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, it will be held against me.
It will be held against
Yes, I have to be very careful.
Speak loudly.
I have to be very careful because it will be held against me. Well, my story started off because my son, who was in our preschool at the time, I sent him to a private school. He came home and told me that he was being abused by the school. So I confronted the school, and the school turned it all around on me and filed a 51A. And so they targeted me pretty harshly. My first conversation with the social worker at the DCF office was, she was like, "You have so many problems." I'm like, "I got problems, and those are the problems you're talking about." Because I grew up in the system myself, and I was abused badly in most of the foster homes that I was in.
Did you ever stop and think that because you grew up in the system, therefore your name was already in the database?
Yes,
and so
they
that when
do
you
have
started
that.
having children,
Yeah, they
it was like
have
almost
it.
a light goes on in their
Yep.
computer?
Yep, and they targeted me really bad, even though I was a really good mother. I never hurt my kid, and it was about the school, and they didn't want to listen to me. They ignored everything I said. They made up so many lies about how I interacted with my son.
But was that here in Worcester?
No, it was a different area.
Okay.
But it's the same thing all over.
Sure.
All over the world. Like,
Exactly.
It's an epidemic. You should look up Nancy Schaefer.
Nancy Schaefer, I've
Yeah.
got a lot of her stuff. I'm
Yeah.
very familiar. For some strange reason, she and her husband, I don't know, got murdered, although they somehow managed to shoot each other.
Yeah, when she was about to
She was filing the bill in Georgia, that's right.
She was about to expose a child trafficking ring.
That's right.
That's what she was about to do that, and she was murdered right before then. So it's a corrupt organization. It's completely against our constitutional right to have these people step into your life and just take your kid and make a plan.
Now, what made you get into this, get this protest together? How did all this start to happen?
Well, when it happened to me, and it happened to my happy little boy who was very happy, I grew grew up in the system, I was miserable. And when I had him, he made my life so much better. And then they took him and they were, manipulating him. They were brainwashing him, basically telling him that I don't love him and that it's a good thing that he doesn't talk to me. They alienated me. What they do is they give you a service plan, and they tell you that, if you finish the service plan, you're going to get your kids back. But then they add more and more stuff. Sometimes they make it impossible for a parent to finish these services. And honestly, it's not really justified to even have these service plans, but they do. But their goal isn't to reunite you. They just distract you from what they're really trying to do. And then as time goes by, they keep your kid in longer. And after 15 or 22 months, that they put your kid up for adoption.
Sure. How long has your child been in the system?
A year now.
Now, have you seen him at all in the past few weeks, months?
I started off with once a week.
Right.
I saw my kid once a week in the little dirty DCF office, and I did fine with him there, and we played nicely, and everything was good. And he would always say, "When am I going to go home to my mom? When am I going to have visits home?"
Mrs. Mom?
Yeah, I missed him. And they would be like, "Oh, sometime in the future," or whatever. And then they just kept saying,
It just went on. It just went on and on.
Yeah, they were accusing me of having severe mental health issues.
When was the last time? When was the last time you saw your child?
Now it's once a month.
But when was the last time?
It's been about last month.
About a month.
About a month.
How would you describe your child's well-being the last time you saw him, compared to like a year when you had your child?
Well, what was the matter was there was an incident where I tried to go leave the visiting room to get some paper, which has never been a problem before. And the DCF worker pushed me and said, "You can't leave the room with your kid." And I was like, and I didn't get a word out edgewise. And then she said that the visit had to be over, so I bent down to tell my son the visit had to be over because I couldn't keep arguing with her. And then she pulled my son's arm, so I called the police. And when the police came, she said nothing was wrong. And but in the diction that they wrote up, it was a completely different story. She said that nothing was wrong, nothing happened, only that I hit her, but I didn't hit her. I removed her hand from my son. And and then on stand they said that I hit her and that I got in a physical altercation. None of that was true, none of it. And so they cut me back from seeing my kids. They tried to stop my visitations, but I went to court and the judge didn't allow that, but they cut it back to once a week to once a month, and then not talking to him anymore.
All right, thank you very much, man. I mean, my heart goes out to you. I mean, I've been covering this kind of stuff for a long time, and it doesn't get any better. Anyway.
Yeah, the goal is just alienation and then adoption. That's their goal. It was a forced adoption. My lawyers even said it.
That's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens.
I was handing in letters, positive letters from my therapist saying that I'm fine. They made me get a psychological evaluation. That came out fine. I was getting positive letters, and on stand they said they rejected them all based off of what they made up, all the lies they made up of how I interacted with my kid. So.
Do you want to give a statement? Do you want to give a statement on camera? Do you want to give a statement? You want to give your name? Want to give your name? No? Speak up, please.
My name is Jennifer Courtouse. I work for DSS for 14 years. The reality is I became a client. It's hard when you become what you work for. The reality is that they take things and they hire people that don't belong there. At one point, I didn't belong there, so I left.
You don't work for them anymore?
No.
What made you quit? Because
bureaucracy? No, bureaucracy. Pure bureaucracy. And so...
then you started to see what these people are talking about? You started to see it in your cases?
Before I left.
Right.
They pretty much paid me to leave. My area program manager, well, not my APM, but my director, his name was Barbara. It was in Russellville. But the reality is that things used to be about kids. I mean, I would take them home to my house. If they knew that now, I'd get fired. I took them home. We had barbecues sometimes. The day that my daughter's closed. You do that now, you get fired.
Do you find that they're just doing it now for, like these people are saying, and as I've researched, that they're doing it for the money? They're not really doing it anymore to quote-unquote protect children. It's for the money.
I would take a kid home to my house, let her sleep on my couch for like 3-4 hours. If they ever knew, they would fire me. And I understand that. I understand there are boundaries. But the reality is that he's not a busting cop. And he used to take kids home late at night when you couldn't place them. He was a DSS social worker.
And how many years again did you work? 14 years, you said?
I was there 14 years.
And you just couldn't do it anymore?
No, I got kind of screwed. But I screwed back. I got tired.
Good.
Gets to a point.
Good. So are you here as part of the protest, or were you in the courthouse?
No, I was in the courthouse.
Taking care of personal business, right?
No, not me. A different one.
And you saw this?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. What's your name again?
Jenny.
Jenny. Thank you so much for that.
Take care.
Sorry.
Well, that's good. That's perfect. More than fine.
Where are you from?
Right here in Worcester. Here. Let's get you in here, Melissa.
Okay. Let's talk to you.
Well, anyway, that's me.
Federal funding.
Take that.
So when do you come online?
Stop the lie.
We'll check the thing right there. It says right there where I am. Tuesday and Wednesday night.
Then. Take care.
Thank you. Bye, hon.
Okay, here.
Talk to you soon.
All right.
$10,000 of federal funding goes to the DCF office when they adopt out to care to keep them in foster homes where they're being really abused.
We're talking here with Melissa Whitman, who organized this event. Melissa, thank you so much for taking this time, and thank you so much for getting this protest together here.
Thank you very much.
Why don't you start off just telling your story and how this whole thing got started?
I invited my daughter and her husband over for Memorial Day weekend. They showed up at my house drinking with my 2-year-old granddaughter. I didn't want to let my daughter and her husband leave with my 2-year-old granddaughter because they were drinking so much. He began pushing me. He got out of my house, called the cops, said he was extremely wasted. He just wanted a ride from the police. And then when the cops came to my house, my daughter said she pushed me. She wasn't arrested. Halfway through it, the cop and my daughter broke into my home. The ACLU has a copy of the police report. The cop admitted it in the police report.
Sure, you went to the ACLU with this, didn't you?
Yes.
Right.
And once the trial, because I'm going to trial, my daughter just pleaded the 5th because she knew she lied. She perjured herself. Her last statement, 45 minutes later, when the cops gave them a ride to Cumbies by my house in Brookfield, DCF ran off that. They came to the police station. When I was being booked, the cop goes karma, because I told him I was going to press charges against him for breaking into my home. Breaking and entering in the nighttime, aiding in abetting felony. So anyway, the cops came to my home again after my daughter claimed that at Cumbies and arrested me. I get to the police station. DCF, he called 51A. DCF came to the police station trying to get me to sign paperwork. I refused to sign, which is my right. So I could hear Mallory Flagg, the DCF supervisor, tell the lady to go take my niece. She was 5:30 in the morning. She was sleeping. They woke her up, traumatized her. She was screaming, running through my house. locking herself.
They just walked into your house 5 o'clock in the morning and abducted your child.
Yes, they did, without a warrant.
Yeah. And this is your niece, who,
niece.
and how old was she at the time?
11. Now she's 12. They did it 2015, Memorial Day weekend. I've seen her 4 times. They placed her in 2 foster homes, and then they placed her in Ewing because she was out of control. The foster family had brought her to the mall, and during their mall day, my niece stood in the middle of the mall screaming, "They kidnapped me, they kidnapped me," until the cops came. So
I gotta say, good for her.
Right? So then they put her in Ewing and punished her for that.
Right.
Then they moved her to Seven Hills Hospital, said drugging her, saying she has bipolar. Now, against the judge's orders, the judge told them not to move her. They just moved her to Springfield and long-term residential.
So I see. So they're trying to move her away from you.
Yes.
They're trying to bring her into a different district.
Yeah.
One of the tactics that DCF uses is they like to switch courts and switch judges. They always try to keep you, the defendant, on your toes. And what ends up happening is judges and different courts, now they have to, quote-unquote, familiarize themselves with this new case. And these people don't have the time to do that because they've already got a caseload of their own to handle.
They do, and I've asked the attorney, I'm on my 3rd one. The first one I had asked her numerous times to submit paperwork for me, and she did nothing. She ignored me. And she also made me talk to me into giving up my 72-hour hearing, which we all know I wouldn't have won anyway.
Right.
Because, well, then the money wouldn't be going through the system. But she was like, "Oh, we'll go through the paperwork, you can get everything positive together," because when I had gotten custody of my niece, when she was 8, she came from a lot of trauma. So I had her in trauma counseling. I did all this on my own without DCF. Had her in trauma counseling, had her seeing a psychiatrist. I had in-home behavioral health coming. I had a therapeutic mentor who was like a big sister. I had her in the homework after club.
Right.
I had her in music. I tried to do a lot of positive reinforcement with her. So I have everything I've done with her is positive. So DCF has no reason to hold her from me. Now, her mother, who took off while she had an open case in Mass, she has 8 children, she only has 3, lives in Florida now. She just had an open case in January. Now she has an attorney here, and they're trying to do an interstate compact to send her back to the abuse she was taken out of.
Are you kidding me?
No, not kidding.
That was going to be my next question. Where are the parents of this niece? But you just pretty much basically told the story there, right?
Yeah, they both are.
This for DCF?
Yes. My brother, who is my niece's father, and her mother both gave me guardianship on their own and told me that she does best with me. I know how to take care of her. She has a lot of problems.
Right.
But now the mother, because she gets disability, my niece, the mother wants her because she wants her disability.
It's all about the money. Follow the
Exactly.
Benjamins, folks. Just follow the Benjamins.
Not in the best interest of my niece at all. All the people that I had working with her had seen how far she has come and how good I did with her.
Right.
So now, if God forbid, if I do get her back, it's going to take me years to get her back on the right track again.
It is. It's definitely going to.
Because of what DCF is doing.
And I always say to some of the guests that I have on my show when I talk about DCF, I always like to use the term, I mean, you've got time on your side in that, you know, the child is still young, and that as long as you're still working hard to get her back, even if it takes years, when that day comes, you don't ever have to apologize for the work that you did. That child will know you fought for me. You put yourself out there and did everything you could. Whereas, you know, DCF is always trying to fill their head with all the, you know, the propaganda and the lies. You have truth and facts and God on your side because you're doing the hard work. Would you agree with that?
I won't give up on her.
That's exactly true. So how did you... Okay, so you've been in this for a year. It started over a family squabble, and
This isn't my first involvement with DCF.
I was going to say, tell us the story about how long you've been in, and then move on to how you started this, why you got this protest together.
Let's see. Well, I'm going to be out there. I'm openly gay. I had a relationship years ago when my daughter Shashmine was 3 and my daughter Heather was 1. My ex-girlfriend, we were roommates, decided she would babysit while I had some me time for 2 hours. She was jealous, brought them to DCF. The DCF worker, whose name is Ruth Vasquez, said to me in front of other people that she would do everything in her power to make sure I'd never seen my girls again. Well, we all know how corrupt DCF
So
is.
it was just vindictiveness,
Yes.
just hatefulness, pure
Yes.
evil.
So she told me she was going to go for a close adoption, and I was coerced into signing paperwork so it could be an open adoption so I could remain in my daughter's lives, because I know I wouldn't have won. I know DCF was lying and they win. So I agreed to that, which I did remain in my daughter's lives. Well, by the time my daughters were 13 and 15, my 15-year-old claimed sexual abuse from the adoptive father.
Hey, I want to shake your
She was
hand.
removed by the same DCF, Worcester DCF, placed into Ewing, and then my 13-year-old daughter was placed with the adoptive father's family out in Princeton in a beautiful home. So anyway, I lived in Wisconsin. I drove all the way back here. I went to court. There was a new DCF worker put in place because of this. I came to court, fought for full guardianship of both of my girls. The same DCF that kidnapped them from me and terminated my rights got up on the stand, lied to the judge, and said they did a home study on me in Florida. And the judge said, okay, and gave me back full guardianship of my own children until they were 18. My 20-year-old daughter was so brainwashed by the adoptive family, she's back there with the adoptive family with her 2-year-old daughter.
That's unbelievable.
The one who caused all this.
That is unbelievable.
Yes.
So you
very-
started this protest. Obviously, you got the event page going.
Yes. And I plan on getting a lot more pages going. I'm a web designer.
Good.
So I am definitely going to build a website about the corruption and the reform that needs to take place, and hopefully to get other families involved. And anybody
Sure.
anybody that needs questions or wants to remain anonymous, we're there.
So the flyer I gave you,
Yes.
KTNT Radio, the guy who started that, Tim Scomo, is he does a show called Parental Revolution. He interviews people like yourself all the time. I've been doing this for 8 years. My website's on there. It's on the second page, all my information to get hold of me. I'm right here in Worcester. I got a studio, so I'd love to have you down, sit in the
love to
studio,
come down.
and
I'd
do
love to come
a show. Sure, get together.
Definitely.
You know, send me an email, and we'll set up a date for you.
I'll do that.
Thank you so much
Thank you
for
very
doing
much.
this.
Thank you.
have
Yeah, I have everything right here.
Well, there you go, folks. We're going to wrap this up here in front of Worcester Courthouse. The Meat and Potato Show, conservative talk, and awesome rock.